Hello everybody, welcome back once again. I've got another Triangle Strategy character guide for you. This time we're talking Ian's. I actually really like Ian's, he's a lot of fun. He's actually acquired by getting 450 morality points, so you'll probably get him fairly early in the game, as long as you're making the right conviction choices. Let's talk a little bit about his accessories. So I've actually got him equipped with a speed amulet right now and then a magic defense bracelet. That's really to kind of help shore up his glaring weaknesses, which is he's incredibly slow. His speed is actually only at 24, which is, you know, in line with the slowest characters in the game. And then his magic defense is pretty bad as well. So I'm getting 4 from this, so his base is only at 22. So again, very, very bad actually when it comes to those two stats. It seems like as your physical defense goes up in this game, your speed generally goes down and your magic defense goes down. So, you know, the tankier physically characters in the game are really slow and are very vulnerable to magic. His strength, you know, not really that great, a 43, so he's not really going to be, you know, pumping out much damage, which is kind of weird. You know, I would have thought that a blacksmith would be, you know, a bit stronger, but hey, I guess they just didn't want to do that. So along with, actually, with his strength, his magic attack is terrible as well. That's always the case, actually, with the tankier characters as well. So even, you know, he's not going to be doing any damage with, you know, ranged fire stones or ice stones, anything like that. So that's a bit of a sad part too. His luck is pretty bad too. You know, not the worst in the game, but, you know, pretty much the bottom tier. So he's not going to be really getting a whole lot of crits unless you're, you know, attacking from behind. Accuracy though is okay, 57. You know, so not so bad. Again, speed is terrible. His base is 24, so you really need to be throwing something on there to make him a little bit quicker. Oddly though, his evasion is really good. So a 60. You know, you could maybe stack evasion bracelets at the end of the game. That would bring him up to 70, and then maybe like the elude buff from Cordelia would bring him to 76, which would be, you know, a pretty good amount. But that's a lot of work to try to get his evasion passable, and I think you're better off, you know, just boosting up his speed. The reality is, like, Ian's is a utility character. He's not, you know, really for damage. And actually, I think probably just stacking speed would be the way to go. Don't even bother with the magic defense. And throw out, basically I would be throwing out spring traps the whole time with him, basically every turn. And spring trap has a really, really good range. So he's, you know, he'll be able to stay really safe from mages. So that's my recommendation anyway. His jump is 2. That's standard. You know, really, yeah, that's the average character's jump. His movement though is really high. He's got a 6, so he's on par with like Roland and, God, who's the other one? Somebody else has a really Medina probably, right? There's probably more, but those are the 2 that I'm thinking of right now. Alright, so anyways, on to his abilities. Spring Trap, this is his best ability in my opinion. So it says set a trap on a selected square. Any enemy who steps on it will be knocked back 5 squares. Up to 3 traps can be set. You can set the direction of your spring traps as well, so you can, you know, kind of catapult them or throw them whichever direction you want. And you know, you'll deal a little bit of damage depending on if the enemy you know, has collision, or if the enemy collides with another enemy or a wall, you know, they'll take a little bit of minor damage, but you're not really going to get a whole lot of damage out of this. But it's more to delay enemies and keep them away from you, and it is really, really good at that. And not only that, I just have to say, it's one of the most fun things to do in the entire game, is to just set traps down and watch enemies go flying. I don't know, it's bizarre to me, but it is incredibly fun. Alright, so his next ability here is Ladder. So it says set a ladder on a selected square for easy access to other areas. Ladders previously set with this ability will disappear. this is actually a really, really good ability as well. There are certain maps in the game where, you know, you'll start out at a gigantic disadvantage because you're down, you know, in a canyon or something, and you really need to either, you know, go through the canyon and, you know, put yourself at a gigantic risk, or you just throw some ladders up on the side of the canyon and just jump up there. I honestly, I just really like this ability. There's a couple of maps really specifically that I can think of where Ian's was really, really good for that exact reason. Also, the General of Laura battle, I actually used Ian's to put some ladders up on the houses, so that I think it was Archibald I used to, you know, climb the ladder and stay at the top of the house. And then actually what I did was to use this ability again on a different spot, and that removes the ladder so that basically none of the enemies could get up to where Archibald was at, because there was no longer a ladder there. You can also stand at the top of a ladder, and that'll make sure that enemies can't climb up. So very, very good ability, very fun, and you can do some really cool stuff with that. Next up is Constricting Net. I actually use this a lot as well. It says delay the turn of a single enemy. This is really good for bosses. You know, bosses are just really, really fast. And spring traps are good, but so are constricting nets for dealing with bosses, right? A spring trap, as long as they've stood on it, basically just ends their turn. You know, sometimes it'll knock them back. Sometimes you can knock bosses back into other characters. But that's really great. But again, constricting net is really good as well, and it's cheap. There's a, you know, early on in the game, spring trap, before the TP cost reduction, you know, you'll have to pay the 2 TP in order to throw that out. And, you know, eventually you'll get to the point where you've run out of TP, and really all that you can do is use constricting net. And so you can just, you know, use that, and it'll delay the turns of enemies. So great, great ability as well. The range is 1 to 4 too, so you know, you don't have to be standing right next to the enemy to do this. And yeah, it's just it's pretty solid. So here it says ensnaring the enemy. This is a passive. It says increases the range of spring trap by 2. That's really good. You know, spring trap has a range of 1 to 4, but with this passive, it brings it up to 1 to 6. So very, very solid passive. Goes, you know, works really well with spring trap. And again, that's going to keep things, or it's going to keep Ian's, and I mean, really, honestly, anybody else safe from, you know, well, sometimes mages, right? If you can get them to step on this, so you can cast it from really, really far away and stay really, really safe. Next up is Slumber Strike. You know, I like this ability, but it just seems like the success rate on the actual sleep portion of it just isn't good enough. I don't know. It just felt like it was failing all the time for me. It, you know, probably is just bad luck, but I don't know. I wish that this was maybe a higher success rate on the sleep, but when it does work, you know, it's pretty solid. And he actually does have a weapon skill that goes along with this that extends the duration on the sleep. So very, very good ability, and that, you know, really just does go along with Ian's is, you know, utility, right? He's, you know, having the ability to do all these sort of kind of crowd control, you know, keep the enemies away, slow them down, or put them to sleep. Just kind of really, you know, works really well for like his theme. Here's ladder 2. So it says set a second ladder on a selected square for easy access to other areas. Ladders previously set with this ability will appear. So you can use ladder and ladder 2 to have 2 ladders out at the same time. Which, yeah, I mean, sometimes that's useful. It's pretty rare, though. I think there was maybe only 1 or 2 maps where I ever thought that, you know, it was that necessary to have more than 1 ladder out. But, you know, I guess just kind of cool. And then Halen Hardy. So it says increases your movement for one turn at max HP. I don't know. I never really found this passive to be all that impressive. Ian's already has really, really good movement, so, you know, 1 more, is it really that, you know, important? I guess there are some maps where, yeah, it is the very first turn where you're like, oh man, I really need to get a ladder over here, right? And that probably makes sense for that, but it's tough to justify, though, a promotion item on Ian's for this single passive. There's just so many other characters that have, you know, really, really good final passives or abilities where, you know, Ian's is going to end up probably not getting this for a very long time. Lastly, he's got automatic turret. It says set up a turret on a selected square that automatically attacks all enemies within range. Previously set turrets will disappear. This actually is a really, really good ability. Not only for the extra, like, you know, sometimes this you know, hits things. Sometimes it just misses a lot, though, too. But the other great thing about this is it draws enemy fire, too. So not only does it, you know, deal a little bit of damage sometimes, but also sometimes the enemies will kind of waste their turn on trying to kill this. So, you know, that can really help out, especially, you know, I always, like I said, I always play on hard mode, and so really it's, you know, the name of the game is to reduce your incoming damage, and that's one of the ways, weird ways maybe, that that you can do that, is by having another target for enemies to shoot at. So I really like the automatic turret. It actually functions a lot like Hewitt's set sights. You know, it's also pretty great because you can throw it up high, and then you know, it'll you know, kind of annihilate enemies as they step into it. So and again, very similar to Hewitt's set sights, where if you know where enemy reinforcements are going to enter, you can throw the turret next to that spot, and as the enemies, you know, appear, the automatic turret will shoot them when they initially show up. So kind of a cool little thing that you can do with it. But yeah, anyways, let's actually take a look at his ability. So I've already set up a trap right there. This is one of the final mental mock battles in the game, and so my goal here was to throw these guys out over the edge, and that's kind of one of the, you know, the fun things to do with the spring traps. So I think if I put a trap here, it would just throw the enemy into this post, but I don't know if there's collision on that post or not. So what I did here is actually throw one on this spot instead, so that when the enemy, you know, steps on this, they'll be thrown off the edge and down to here. I'm gonna put one here, and again, you wanna choose the right direction, right? So we'll do one there.
This is my way of doing things.
And then I'm gonna throw one more, because I've got the TP to do it. We'll just put it here, just in case one of these guys tries to walk around the side of me. They'll probably make a beeline for me, but you never know. Whee! Flap. Alright, so there you have it. So that guy actually took a ton of damage there from the fall damage. I mean, that knocked him down about a quarter. Yeah, 505 to 354. So actually very, very solid damage because of that. Let's do now. Now, this will be kind of interesting. Hopefully this works out, but
I'll give it my best.
the problem with this, though, is that, so I'm actually going to throw one in the same spot, and I think if I'm correct here, if my theory is correct, when this enemy steps on this trap, he actually won't be thrown down below because that enemy is already down there.
Got it.
And because of the way, I guess it's programmed, it won't let enemies fall on top of each other, which is kind of lame, but yeah, there you have it. So he just got stuck on the wall instead. I noticed that early on with, there was like a canyon level, where something similar happened. There was an enemy down below, and I set a trap, or maybe it was like a knockback or something, because I wanted to knock him into the canyon. Well, because there's an enemy directly below, or where they would land at, they're not eligible to be thrown down, and that's really, actually, honestly, really lame. I suppose it would have been a little bit tough to program it correctly, right? Because then that enemy would have needed to either push the initial one out of the way and into a different square, but they just said, you know, to heck with it, and we're not even going to do that. So, unfortunately, you know, what I really should have done is put that trap right here instead, and it would have thrown him into this trap, and then this trap would have thrown him off the edge, and probably to this square here. But I guess just keep that in mind. You know, it's pretty rare where you have to actually worry about that, but you know, it does happen, so you know, be aware. But All right, let's get out of here, and we'll take a look at his weapon abilities, and I'll go through my recommended, weapon upgrade path, which I feel like maybe at this point, if you've watched some of the other videos, you'll probably be able to guess what my recommendations are. All right, Ians, we need to talk about your hammer, buddy. Let's see, where is he at? There he is. Okay, so tier 1, you've got a weapon potency upgrade, you've got an HP, and then you've got an ore right away. So you can either increase his jump or increase his movement. I went movement. It's really rare where you really need more jump, right? So up to you. And the great thing about this game is if you find that you're starting out a map and you wish that you had more jump instead of the movement, then you can just swap this on the fly, right? It doesn't cost you any extra materials to switch this. So again, you can do this really anytime you want. But I always went movement. It was just kind of nice to have him, getting a little bit of extra. And then you've got a physical defense boost. So honestly, I would start here, and then I would probably go with the movement, then go with the max HP, and then do weapon potency last. He's not here for damage, so I don't really care about the potency increase. Next up, so you've got Springtrap TP cost reduction or Constricting Net TP reduction. Now, it really depends on which one you're using more often, but the Constricting Net TP cost reduction will make it free, which is, nice, but I don't know. I used Springtrap 99% of the time with him. And so being able to literally throw one of these out every single turn, I thought was really, really nice. So, it takes it from 1 TP down to, or I'm sorry, from 2 TP down to 1 TP. So again, you'll be able to use this every turn. Yeah, so I really like that. And then, the other thing is, because Constricting Trap is only one, or Constricting Net, sorry, is only 1 TP, you could use that every turn anyway. So, I guess, I don't know. I think that this is much better. But anyways, that's what I would start out with. I would buy this first. This should be your first tier 2 upgrade. Then I would go with the magic defense. I mean, this isn't going to do much for him, but, why not? And then I would go with the health, and then again, potency last. Now, last up here, you've got a weapon potency, you've got Slumber Strike duration +1, or you've got automatic turret. This one is a little bit tougher for me. I don't know if I was just unlucky, but it seemed like Slumber Strike was failing all the time. I just wasn't getting things put to sleep. But if it does work, boom, it's sleeping for 3 turns, and you've got it, on lockdown for 3 turns. Or you go with the more damage on the automatic turret. Again, this is a real toss-up. It's really up to you. I think I did actually buy the Slumber Strike duration first. Then I went automatic turret. Then I went weapon damage up. But again, this one's a tough decision for me. The other thing with automatic turret is, sure, the sleep duration is nice and it takes an enemy out for a long time, but the automatic turret gives you another target for the enemies to focus on. So, you can get some damage reduction in a way out of that as well. So, again, up to you, but I went Slumber Strike duration first, then I went turret, then I went potency increase. So, anyways, that is it for Ians. As always, hope the guide was helpful, and thank you for watching.